This is Canucks Only.
This is Canucks Only.
Here are your hosts, Shylo Smith and Rob Young.
Shylo,
Rob,
how are you?
I'm good.
It's like the loaded question before the beginning of every episode.
Yeah,
and it really depends, but really, it's just more of the same.
It's just yeah.
So
I'm almost to the point where I'm just numb every post game
and mid game. So let's go back in time. It's Monday. The Florida game just wrapped up. The Miami, Florida team versus the Tampa Bay, Florida team. And let's go back in time to Canucks versus the Hurricanes back on Friday. What were you thinking? What do you recall? What do you remember from the Canucks versus the Hurricanes?
Just trying to remember now. It was, if I remember correctly, it was like pretty back and forth again. At least in the first period, I think. But we were also really slow. Like, we didn't get a lot of shots that game, and they got a crap ton. But we still somehow held in there. Yeah, I don't know. I think, and was that the game that Connor got injured?
Not sure. I'm just gonna have the highlights on here.
Okay. I know he got a goal. I think he got a goal. I think maybe it was the next game.
The Canucks opened the scoring. Sasson, who looks great, by the way. Sasson is he's the real deal. Watching the Florida game tonight, he's an NHLer. There is no doubt about it. He's got NHL speed. In fact, he's clocking near the top of the league for speed. So he's in the upper, I'd say, 10th of the fastest forwards, especially with the puck. He opened the scoring, and then Carolina tied it up.
And that line is just like, they look good together, because they actually look like they play together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of line juggling. So, whose line mates are you referring to with Sasson?
Oh, well, Sasson. I think he's regularly paired with McEachran or whatever. McEachran, yeah. And then the third guy is usually swapping in and out, right? But I think it was Carlson.
Well, Ratu. Well, I think he's been playing. Well, actually, I'll keep an eye on it here. But yeah. Well, the Carolina game too opened with that penalty that really was a terrible penalty against the Canucks, and they scored 5 seconds in. Svechnikov scoring that goal was super annoying. He got a couple of goals.
Yep.
And then he's annoying. He's one of those chippy, sneaky chippy players. You really got to keep an eye on him.
Yep.
But he's got talent, obviously. I think he was a pretty high draft pick. There was 2 Svechnikovs, I think, at one point, so there was a couple of them. Hard to keep track of where they went, but I think this is the original one for Carolina. But he's got lots of talent. But that was, the penalty was terrible, and then they scored literally 5 seconds in on off the face-off, across the ice, and cross-body one-timer.
Yeah,
it was terrible. And DeBrusk, I'm just watching here. DeBrusk had a chance in front. Could have been a goal. Beautiful little tap through across the crease between his legs and just hit the side of the net. Do you have the game sheet up? We should pull the game sheet up here.
Yeah, I got the game sheet here. I remember Pettersson looking good, and this was sort of the start of he's looked really good these last 3 games.
Yeah, he scored the shorty. He just scored the shorty on the highlights here. Great. I mean, that's the PD we want. It's and you're right. There is some signs of that here, signs of life, which is nice. It's amazing we don't see more of the interceptions that he did on the drop pass and the power play, because he read it, and it was a terrible effort by the defenseman or the forward.
Yep.
And defenseman Walker, I think he's a defenseman. And great, nice shot by Petey for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Lankinen held them in this game too, if I remember correctly. Like he made some amazing saves, and he faced like almost 40 shots too.
38 shots. It's crazy.
Yeah, so great game for him, even though it's a loss. Canucks, they had the lead, and then they lost it. So, and then they lost the extra point. So, kind of like, disappointing in that way, but I was happy to see the good things happening, right? Sasson playing great, right? Pettersson actually looking like Pettersson, and even Besser and Garland, who looked really on point that game, right?
Yeah. The Carolinas, they're sitting second in the conference in the East. So they're the real deal, plus 16 team. Mm-hmm. So this was a good test for the Canucks, and Garland just scored here. It's up 3-2 now.
Yep.
They missed a couple of chances. The DeBrusque one, there was another one. So in theory, it could have been 4-2.
Yep.
So they're getting their chances. And I think the theme so far, and it's reflected in some of our texts back and forth, is that it's not the consistency of how they're getting it done is a bit of a mystery. It's a super hard effort, hard grinding, good individual plays leading to a successful play. But this Carolina team's a contender. They're tied for first in the conference. Sorry, they're not second. They're actually tied for first with New Jersey right now.
Yep.
So,
they're a good team. Yep.
Yeah. So Lankinen played good. Let's see here. I'm just going to pull up the game
Vander
sheet.
Kane had 4 shots. He had the most shots of any Canuck.
Yeah, he's really warming up for me. Like, he's really... he's turned... Well, he keeps progressing, which is really nice. So I'm not going to say he's where I would say he wants to be, but he's getting better every game.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Lankinen had a great game. I'm just trying to recall, 3 games. It's a while ago, and especially the title of this episode, I will say, the lows, highs, and lows of this road trip, because they're putting us on an emotional roller coaster here, trying to latch on to this team emotionally, because it's so up and down.
Yeah, it's so difficult to. I mean, it almost becomes frustrating when you're like, what are they doing? And then, oh yeah, they 2 weird fluky goals. We're up, and now we're down, and we're back up, and
go ahead. Sorry.
Like I said, there were some good takeaways, even though it was a loss, an overtime loss. And I'm going to go back to PD's game. He was really good. He was, face-offs, blocks. He only had 1 shot, so I guess I'd like to see him shoot more still.
Yeah.
But he had a good game. He was 64% in the face-off.
Yeah, it's excellent. He's like number 1 or number 2 in the whole league for face-offs, and then number 1 in the league for block shots currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we mentioned in the last episode where that's not the PD we really, really want, but we'll take any positives at this point because we've been so desperate for it. Carolina dismissed.
I'll take the shorthanded goal-scoring PD all day long.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Carolina just missed a chance, so that would have tied the game up for them. It was a good back-and-forth game.
Yep.
So it's just in the highlights here, the third period's going here, and just remembering that. We were leading. We're leading right now with 13 minutes left in the third, and obviously they tie it up. But that elbow by Svechnikov on Hronek, that was pretty nasty. Although on the third time I watched the replay, it looked like a glancing blow. So it on the first 2 or 3 replays, it looked terrible. And on the third or fourth one, it looks like he just grazed the helmet a little bit. And then apparently the NHL spotter called down and made him go to the quiet room for when he left the third. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have started that crazy overtime where we had possession for 3 minutes?
Yeah.
3 or 4 minutes.
Yep.
And then, and then someone had been saying in radio or something about Sebastian Aho where he just needs one chance, and he was on the whole time. He didn't come off on the overtime.
I know. Yeah, he didn't.
Which
he was the entire 3 minutes, and what was it? No, it was like over 4 minutes he was on the ice, wasn't it?
So, and then unfortunately the turnover was against Petey to make things worse. But they're a deep team. They're expected to go, at least to the second or third round, like as an automatic. Carlson just missed a chance. 5 minutes left in the third.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. Like this was a good test, right? Like for the Canucks, and to walk out with a point.
So it's 40 seconds left in overtime. The replay here. Yeah. 38. So
it's like a breakdown.
Yeah, Lankinen was great. 37 seconds face off. PD bites on a curl back on Aho, and he just picks his spot.
Yeah.
So, did you find the Garland? How much time on ice? It will tell us the injury. 19 minutes compared to PD's 20 minutes.
Was it?
It's hard to say. I can't remember.
Trying to remember. Was it this game or was it the next game? It was this game he got hurt, right?
Yeah, I do not remember. Let's see here. Just reading the article real fast on the summary from NHL.com. Yeah, I don't recall. But, I mean, overall, A for effort, B for result. If I'm report carding a bunch of players, that I think there was some positive perks in there from certain players. But no, it was the Lightning game that Garland got hurt. He was hurt in the first 4 minutes. All right, let's move on to the Tampa Bay Lightning Canucks. So 2 days later, so this was the Sunday game.
Yep.
Nice and early. What do you remember from that game?
That I wanted to turn it off after the first and second period. I was just like the first period was just disgusting. It was gross. Yeah. And the second period was okay, but not much better. Like, I was still kind of like, I was like surprised that Lightning hadn't scored 3 or 4 more goals. Right. Yeah. And and Lankinen was awesome. He made some killer stops in that game. Yeah. And so I was just like, okay, he's holding them in there, but they got to do something with that. Yeah. And I was fed up with the second. I was actually coming back, and I think I even texted you. I said, Myers is making me hate him again, right? Like he was just like, it was like he just looked horrible out there. Yeah. And mistake after mistake, giveaway after giveaway, turning away from the players when they're coming in on him instead of turning into them. Yeah. Just like simple little mistakes, and I was just like, I was so annoyed. And then the third period came,
which I was away for because I told you I was going to play hockey. Yep. And I had no idea what happened, and went and
because when you left, it was 2-1 for
Tampa.
And then it was like, in the first 5 minutes, they get like 3 weird goals. Like they were weird goals. Have you seen the highlights on them?
Yeah, I rewatched. I watched the rest of the game when I came back. Yeah, for sure. And
so it's just
the sequence of it is crazy. It's hard to kind of understand, and that's what I said to you. Is like, I don't understand how you're supposed to. How do you game plan that? How do you game plan luck? How do you game plan, like, oh my God? How do you game plan all those deflection goals? You can try and craft those plays, But yeah, you explain to me what they're doing, and then we'll both know.
Yeah, it's. I don't. I would have loved to have just been on the bench for Tampa Bay when that was going down, because they probably would be sitting there going like what's happening?
Yeah.
Out of those, like, deflect the goal, hits Tampa Bay's skate, goes in. And I think the next one was also a deflection off of the defenseman. Like, it was, it just seemed that they had that puck luck going, like everything was bouncing their way. And that's good, but like, as you said, you can't game that, right? You can't plan for that. That can't be your identity.
Yeah. Well, it could be. It just you're not going to have consistent success with that, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. Don't let them get streaky, or they're going to score 8.
Right.
But yeah, it was a weird game, and everything, even like stat wise, like things were, again, PD looked great, right? And I think he got like maybe an assist. I don't think he got any goals. I think he got he got 2 assists.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So he got 2 assists, one with MPD and one for DeBrusque. But again, he was like 56% in the face-off dot.
Wow. Okay.
So, like, 2 games now. Those, last game and the Carolina game and this one, he's been more than 50%.
Which is good. That's where you want your top center to be. And that's why we've missed Horvat. I can't remember if Miller he was always usually about like 50-51%, right?
Usually. Hold on a second. You're going to have to edit this.
Okay.
She just texted me at 10 o'clock. She goes, "Do you want to just drop the kids off at my house in the morning?"
Oh, yeah. See?
I'm like, dude, that's what I said. Like, I said at 2:27.
Wow.
Hey, if you want, you can just keep the kids here. Oh my goodness. Anyway, well, there you go.
Do you need to get them to bed, or?
Well, I should, but
yeah. Why don't you
not much we can do. No, I gotta record this anyway in the bedroom.
Okay.
So we'll just get this done.
Keep it a crisp one here.
Well, we're halfway through this one, and we only got one more, and she's not coming here, so it's not like I have to worry about anything.
There you
go. Okay. And 3, 2 for your edit. The other thing is that Quinn Hughes is like, Petey's looking like Petey, even though, again, he only had 1 shot in the Tampa game, believe it or not. He's got to shoot more. But didn't Quinn Hughes just look like he was amazing in that game? I couldn't believe how, I think he was involved. Let's take a look.
Well, he missed the Carolina game, so consistently when he misses a game, he comes back on a mission. Like, he is like man on fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
he had 4 assists in the Tampa game.
Yeah. Like, he set a record today. We'll talk about that in the Florida game, but he set a record. I don't know if you caught that, but yeah, he's on he is on fuego. He is like on a mission.
Yes, he is. It's good to see. but we can't just rely on it's like the Oilers. You know what I mean? They can't just say, well, we have McDavid and he's going to outscore our problems.
Yep.
We can't do that with Hughes. We do that and we're going to lose him in a year and a half.
I hadn't thought in that context, but you're 100% right, because I've been thinking that similar thoughts is that, and it was evident in the Carolina game that we had more of a team game there than we had in the previous 8 games.
Yeah.
We were relying on Quinn too much. Mm-hmm. And over the last few games, I've been thinking that there's 2 types of breakouts right now. There's the one with Quinn Hughes, and then there's the crap show that's without Quinn Hughes. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they're playing 2 different games, and it is exactly the same as what you just said about McDavid. Mm-hmm. When he's on the ice, they become so reliant on him, and that you saying it out loud just affirms what I've been thinking, but not in that exact context of McDavid. Mm-hmm. But holy cow, you're 100% right. Like there's 2 faces of this team. Mm-hmm. It's when Quinn Hughes is on and everything runs through him, and then there's like everything else.
Or it just seems to be like it's like there's no you don't know how to defend against the Canucks because you don't know what they're doing, because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. It's like they still can't, even in the Tampa game, like they still had problems getting out of their zone with more than a 2, it was mostly off the boards or flip up and chase, right? Like that's how they were getting out of the zone if Quinn was not on the ice.
Yeah.
And if Quinn was on the ice, he's doing the breakout. He's basically getting you to the other line, and he's setting up that first pass for those 3 passes that get the goal.
Right.
Like if you look at all his points, except for 1 in that game, were he had 3 secondary assists. And people are like, oh, secondary assist doesn't mean anything. It does. Like, if it's like Brandon Point getting a secondary assist, sure, might not mean anything, right? I'll even say if it's Hronek, right? Hronek, he's just making a pass, or Myers, right? Even less so, it means nothing, right? Yeah. He had the puck, he gave it to someone else to do something with. They made a great pass, and there was a goal, right? Yeah. That's usually what it is. But with Hughes, it's the start. He's probably seeing what's going to happen before it happens, and he's making that pass so that like it's with intent, and it's the start of that 3-pass boom boom goal.
Yeah.
And
he breaks the first coverage all by himself.
Yeah.
Without a question, he breaks the first coverage, then everything else he sort of emerges from what he can see.
Exactly.
Because you're right. Most of the times, the secondary assist is not super relevant to the goal. But in Quinn Hughes' case, it is the goal. It absolutely is probably like 60-70% the reason that goal ever happens.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So if he doesn't get that puck off his stick, obviously, if he doesn't get the puck off his stick, it's not a goal. But what I'm saying is that he's him doing it is what leads to the goal. Right. Whereas Myers making the pass is Myers just making a pass, right?
No, 100%. And I think that's pretty obvious to see, but it's a good point. And I think part of the problem is that we're so reliant on him. If he doesn't do it, not sure a lot happens, other than, although the Carolina, without Quinn Hughes, the Carolina game, we were competitive. It was fine. But with him, there's a little bit more scrambliness, disheveledness on how people are receiving the puck. Because his first pass out of the zone, the last 2 years, he's like sending like rockets. Like they're so hard. You can see how hard he's efforting to get that puck with the extra zip that I don't think was there 3 years ago. I don't think he needed to do that. But he's leveling up, and it is the McDavid factor where the faster he goes, the harder it is for people to play with him. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I was thinking McDavid or Quinn Hughes is the perfect player to have on the Oilers, for McDavid.
Yeah, could you imagine McDavid and Quinn Hughes together?
Right. Oh, I know, it's crazy. To him go generate the speed, they could figure out some sort of a twosome breakout, and no one would catch them, right?
Nope. Yeah.
But I was even thinking that with the Florida game, that with all the thoughts that Quinn Hughes will go to New Jersey, I could see that Bill Zito in Florida is pretty crafty. Mm-hmm. For him to take a run at Quinn Hughes under contract for one more year, mm-hmm. I could see him pulling a fast one and try and pull Quinn Hughes to Florida, because that's the kind of GM he is. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they have the assets to ever pull that off, but Quinn Hughes he's in a different galaxy right now, literally, and he's showing how mortal regular humans are in the rest of this league, because there's only a couple of guys. Even they talk about Werenski, and he scored a nice goal tonight on Monday the 17th here, as we're talking about yesterday's game. But it's so remarkable to watch him mm-hmm. As a forward. I mean, as a defenseman playing, and that stick handling display. I think we talked about in the last episode, the in-tight stick handling, the comparison to Kane. He's so good. It's so crazy. I will cry the day that we lose him, if we lose him. But yeah, I think it makes it hard for the rest of the breakout if it's not him, because it's so drastically different. Yeah. That I think you're really playing on two different teams, really. There's the Quinn Hughes team, and then there's everybody else, because everyone's trying to catch up. So, his favorite target seems to be Petey, to get him to break out, and Petey can handle it. Yep. But Petey is not found his game for finding it with transition and speed at the same time. He's catching the puck, and then it's a bit labored to move it forward after that. But anyways, that's a different topic. But I just got the highlights here on. So it's 2-1 with a minute and 15 left in the second period. So it must have ended the period at 2-1 for the Tampa Bayers.
And I was ready to not even watch the third. I was just annoyed, and everything just looked
terrible. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, okay, we had something pathetic in the first period. I think there's something like one shot we had in the first period.
They were down 8-0 before they got in shots before they got the first one.
Yeah, and they only had one shot in the first period.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes, one shot, and then they had 3 shots in the second period. So I was just like, you know what, you can't win games if you're taking less shots. Actually, maybe there might have been more. I think there was 6 shots, but still. You're taking less shots than you need to win the game. You know what I mean? I was like, no, this isn't gonna be a good game at all.
Well, it's funny because I was going to try and trick you in a few minutes when we got to the Florida game. But if I gave you the number 50, what do you think the number 50 is based on this episode?
Face-offs?
The number of shots in all 3 games by the Canucks.
Wow.
50 shots. 15 against Carolina. 18 against Tampa Bay. 15 against Florida. Let me get this right here. 17 versus Carolina, which leaves, 17 for Tampa Bay? No, 18. Anyways, messed that up. I wrote them out of order. But 50 shots in 3 games. That's an average of 17 shots a game.
That's not enough.
It's not enough. So based on, everything we're seeing, there is a massive problem here. Like the play driving is all coming from Quinn Hughes, and when it's not, like they were competitive against Carolina, but that's not okay. It's just not okay. I don't know how they fix it, but it is it's a problem.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. I'm just looking at. Wow. So how it was 50?
50.
So the shots against is 109 shots against. So
look,
double against.
20 shots a game would be a low average for a game for
yep.
And we got. Are you kidding me? We got 6 goals on 18 shots against Tampa. I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
right?
We got 5 goals on 15 shots in for Florida.
Right.
Like those odds are just ridiculous.
That's not sustainable.
Nope.
I mean, as much as I would love that to be, that feels more like my EA hockey than NHL hockey at this point. But there's a problem between the breakout, the Quinn Hughes problem, because he's so dynamic, it becomes a problem. The lack of shots and the lack of play drivers right now, it's crazy. So, yeah, I mean.
Well, let's see something.
I mean, again, the title of this episode is going to be Low, High, Low, because this is the emotions that we're going through here. As I'm watching Quinn Hughes, it's 4-2 Canucks in the Tampa game here now, and just you cannot write, as we mentioned, you cannot write up, hey, shoot it and have it go off this and have it go off your shin pad or your stick or as a deflection.
Yeah.
As an aside. Mackenzie McEachern, I believe, has 4 points in 5 games.
Yeah.
I mean,
because the puck hits him just right.
Well, he looks like an NHL body. He skates well.
Yeah.
He's got an NHL nose
size.
for. I would say an NHL. At least head on his shoulders, IQ or no. I was gonna say nose for the net, but it's a really kind of a nose for each play. If it's he makes the right play. He's not making you shake your head like, oh, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
A la Reichel, who I'm still a fan of. I think when he breaks out, it'll be like a huge relief if he can actually turn that corner because he's got tons of talent. But this McEachern's doing all the right things, and we need more of that versus obviously less of that and more of what we've got of I'll just say forward play driving versus even line driving. So he is doing well enough. So McEachern's only got 4 points in 6 games. That's all.
Still,
that's only going to be a 65-point season.
Yep.
70-point season.
That's wild.
So he's 31 though. He's 31, 67th overall pick for St. Louis back in 2012. So he's been around the block, and he's had a couple of sniffs since 20. So he knows what he's doing, which is great. We could talk about David Kampf coming to our camp and helping out.
His first game, yeah.
Yeah,
Sherwood's still looking good too. He's getting points.
Yeah, I mean, I love Sherwood. I mean, how can you not love Sherwood? My concern is that he's a lot. I mean, for his goal scoring tear. I mean, at this point,
yeah, he's got 12 goals.
I mean, how many
like
he got 20 last year? Is that right?
He's more than halfway.
So he's going to end up with like a 27 goal season this year, which is terrible for. Contract year for us. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, also it's terrible because we have Quinn Hughes. Like we have a bunch of guys doing their best seasons, and we're literally like,
wasting it.
Are we gonna? Yeah, exactly.
Wasting it.
I don't want to say that, but that's what it feels like. Like I'm like.
Well, it is. it's a hockey reality that can happen, and it sucks, right? It's. I was thinking about it. I think today about maybe the context. No, who was it? I have to think when we get to the Florida game, but it's almost like Trevor Linden always had his best games when they lost, and was such a waste. Like, oh, he played amazing. He was the best player by far, and they lost. Right? I think there was some sort of record of well, he had a better record when he scored a point in wins versus losses, but in some of the bigger games, biggest one being 94 Game 7, but I digress. But wasting those seasons, I sort of cut you off from the Sherwood angle, but yeah, it's you don't want to say it, but that's what it kind of is. Yep.
That's what it feels like, right?
So, I mean, Garland, Sherwood, Quinn Hughes, Demko before getting hurt, Lankinen starting to warm up, which is awesome.
Yep. Does Demko come back? Does
Ever?
Demko come? Well, he'll come back, but is he going to be coming back as the Demko that we know, or is he going to be coming back?
Yeah.
Is he going to be coming back as someone who starts to fall into like a second goaltender, losing that starter spot because you need to manage how much ice time he actually gets?
Well, I think that's a conversation from last year with Lankinen taking over and Demko being out. I think that's the conversation that was on pause. With much glee and happiness to press the pause button on that because he looks so good so far. So it's a valid question. Mm-hmm. And if you go back 1 year ago, that's still the same question. But a summer of rehab and a summer of training and a good training camp and the first great 10 games of the season with him, those questions were not questions. It seemed to be okay. I mean, it was a bit of a specter looming, but it's valid. But I don't think that's a new question. I think that's I don't think it's just hasn't gone away. Although we've been able to tuck it away because he's been playing so great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want to see him go sort of the Markstrom way. Where Markstrom, or actually, how about a better analogy would be Eddie Lack, who, basically had the start of what could have been a great career, but then injuries just took him out, right?
Yeah.
Like he couldn't.
Was he hips or knees? I can't remember.
He was hips.
Yeah.
But he
him and Corey Schneider both had hip problems. Yeah.
But he just couldn't. He just couldn't come back from it, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, so if it looks like this is a thing, then you got to manage it. Like, because imagine you have a starter that's like Demko level, let's say, and Demko is your backup because you want to manage his ice time, so that he's always healthy and he's always there to win you those backup games. That would be nice.
I mean, that takes me back to the McLean-Whitmore days where those were automatic wins when Whitmore went in.
Yeah.
Because the team was so good and Whitmore was solid.
Yeah.
And so that's not a bad scenario, but it also goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the season, that I'd rather see Lankinen have more games and rest Demko. And that's probably what's going to happen now. We're probably going to look at the Lankinen 50 games and Demko 30 games. But then,
I think that's what we were talking about at the beginning of the season. That's what we wanted to see.
Well, I think so. I think strategically, if you're unsure, why would you tax the unknown injury with the risk of aggravating or re-injury when your goal is the playoffs? Now, the season is kind of unfolding not according to plan. For sure, we're battling just a game under 500, and that's really tough for projecting that if you're going to make it into the playoffs or not. So this is going to be a dog fight all the way to the end, based on, every game counts. Every game is like a must-win game at this point, because there's a lot of parity in the league.
Yep.
But the fact that we're not getting our top guns firing all at the same time, there's no automatic wins for the Canucks. We cannot take any opponent lightly. And these weird upset games, they're so unpredictable.
Yeah,
that,
you can't rely on them.
You can't project. So I don't mind that scenario. I'd rather push Lankin into the limit and give him a slightly new limit, like a battle-tested. Like, if he was good for 50, hey, maybe you're good for 54 games. Because I can't remember, how many games did he play last year?
I think it was like around the 54 games mark.
Right. And so what you want to do is have him go just a little bit more to give you that. So he played 51.
Yeah.
So if he plays 55, maybe a little bit more, and pushes limits, he in theory is he's obviously the backup plan. But when you've got an ace up your sleeve and a Demko, who is, Vezina caliber, 2.5-3 years ago was talked about, Team USA's goalie versus, Hellebuyck wasn't having a great season 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So it was a Demko John Gibson conversation. Hellebuyck was having a terrible season, but Hellebuyck has rebounded that, he is obviously the clear, Four Nations goalie, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if Demko's healthy, it's Hellebuyck Demko. Like, there's just no question. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so does he come back? I mean, we're kind of covered. I wouldn't say either way. I mean, not really. Patera looked pretty good, but he's going to need some more season. This is his first game in 3 years in the NHL. So, as I was saying to you, we signed him 2 years ago, and then this year was today, November 17th, was his first game as a Canuck. Mm-hmm. He had not played in 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I remember the Las Vegas reporter saying, "Yeah, Patera's been great. He's been the third goalie in Vegas, and so he was looking for a chance, and then he got squeezed out by Lankinen." So I feel bad for the guy, but that's sort of the scenario. But yeah, a surprising win, because when I was in the change room, I had very terrible cell reception after our game, and you told me that I'm not allowed to watch Canuck games anymore. And so my continued acknowledgement of my Canucks luck is in full effect, but it was your fault last time, I think, Carolina. Didn't you? Was it the Carolina game? You says, which game was that? You said, it's all my fault.
Yeah, that was Carolina, because they went to overtime, and I said Lankinen's going to shut out in overtime. And you're like, don't say that. And then literally, like 5 seconds later, Carolina scored.
Yeah. So anyways, on my other Canucks chat on iMessage with some buddies, I tried to do it for the Blue Jays too, but it was up and down as far as winning and losing, as far as me watching and not watching. So I don't know. I think we all have a complex, because if I talk to my uncle or whoever I'm talking to at the moment about the Canucks, like everyone has a complex about this. This is the fate or current state of being a long-suffering Canucks fan, is that we all blame ourselves for not wearing the right underwear that day.
Yeah, exactly.
So Canuckles win 6-2 unexpectedly against Tampa, being down 2-1 going into the third.
So an interesting thing about this game, there's a couple interesting things about this game before we close off on it. And that is the first two periods, they actually looked defeated in their facial expressions.
Yeah.
So usually, like when you're not doing good, and you might look angry, you might look like frustrated, but they looked defeated. They just looked like,
You think collectively, or is there people that you're seeing more than others?
I And I'm not saying that it was all game, right? But in the first 2 periods. So there's a couple times they put it on Pettersson, and he just looked like slumped over, like, what are we doing? The third, all the depth guys, who actually, basically came out and did really well, in the past 3 games. But they still, everyone just had that defeated look on them. Even Hughes did, where he's got that sort of resting, sad face. Like, he almost always looks sad. Like, he scores a goal and cheers, and you're like, why is he upset?
Yeah.
But it was weird. They just looked defeated, and Myers had an absolutely garbage game, and yet they come out of it smelling like roses. It's like they're Shawshank, right? They climbed through a river of shit and came out clean the other side.
Oh wow, yeah.
And excuse my swearing, but it was just one of those weird games. But I'll take the 2 points. I'm happy for it. Everyone looked really good in the third period.
In the third period, yeah. Oh man,
and Hughes was, the dominating force there.
Well, only 4 points, only 23 minutes. Not surprising. On the ice. Let's see, 27 shifts, 4 shots. I mean, just an all-world performance again from Captain Quinn. I mean, it's hard to think about this team without him. I mean, Carolina showed us what we could be, but it's I don't know. It's a tough one because he's so great. But you are right. It's the same problem they have with McDavid, and they have Draisaitl there too, right? Which is crazy. So, anything else stand out to you for the Tampa game?
Other than Myers sucking, no.
All right. I'm
just going to end with that.
I can't even really defend or pile on because he looks like he's laboring. Is it age? Is it an injury? We don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tough. So don't know. Okay, let's talk about the game today against the Floridas. The Panthers, reigning Stanley Cup champions, minus Barkov. Who else were they missing? I think that was the only significant injury.
They're missing a bunch of guys, but he's the only one that really matters.
Yeah, totally. Let's see the scratches here, if I can find it. So, but the Canucks were up, weren't they not? Let's see here.
Yeah, they're up 2-0.
So that's terrible. That it's not. I mean, like, what do you do with that? Like, really, at the end of the day, you're up. I thought, early on, we're gonna win this one. Like, I felt confident.
Yeah,
we seemed to be playing the right way. Florida didn't seem to have a lot of jump.
Yeah.
And then I don't really know what sparked it. I don't know what the difference was. But they seemed to wake up. And that was no good for us. They have enough depth. They are the reigning Stanley Cup champs.
Mm-hmm. But I think we also gave them a lot of space. Like,
I'm just trying to find their scratches. I want to see who the actual scratches were in this game.
And we're playing a goalie that hasn't played in the NHL in quite a while.
Yeah, and we gave up 41 shots.
And 41 shots.
I mean, for crying out loud. So,
yeah.
Which one do I want here? Event summary. Looking for the scratches. Why does it... I mean, 13 goals in a game is a lot of goals.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Pettersson had 2. Quinn Hughes had 4 assists again, or 3 assists.
So did you catch on the broadcast that they said he set tied a Canuck record for his third 3-point game in a row.
Oh, okay. So I may have heard and missed that, but yeah.
So do you get here's okay, trivia? I did not catch that. Who do you think he tied the record with?
Is it all players or defensemen only?
It's a good question, but the record was for a defenseman, so it might be defenseman only.
Okay.
And it's a pretty not far gone era, but not too far gone, but definitely not modern.
Well, I'm thinking 93, 94 team would be my guess.
Yeah. If you want to you can get a guess, and if you can tell me if you want a hint.
Let me think. I'm like Jyrki Lumi. I don't think, because he had a crap ton of assists.
Yeah, it's a good guess. It's not Lume.
Who else has high points in the D? No. Okay.
He was not a Canuck for a long time.
Okay.
But prolific and a stellar defenseman for sure.
No, it's not going to come to me.
It was Reinhardt.
Oh, I forgot that he was a Canuck.
He was an awesome Canuck. And
that makes sense. Yeah, Reinhardt.
Yeah. So he had 3-point games. It might have been 3 assist games in a row. Mm-hmm. So Quinn Hughes just tied him. So I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, those are like you expect Pavel Bure, Linden, type numbers. I'm not sure if that is a defenseman only record. Anyways, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of like I feel like Bure would have had, but maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought. I mean, Quinn's playing at a he's on a different planet. He's playing at all world level, elite level, all-star level, Olympic level. And that's crazy. Just another record for him, right? So,
no, he's breaking Canuck records everywhere, and he still has, hopefully, a long ways to go with us.
Yeah, I mean, there's the hoping, right? So, Canucks. I had the highlights running here. So the Canucks are up 2-1 and 4 minutes left in the first. So I thought they were going to win this game, but when Florida caught up, I mean, I did text you that once they had gotten, I can't remember what the score was.
I had a bad feeling once they got that power play goal with like 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
I was like, that looked bad. And when you look at the whole period,
yeah,
I was like, we don't have enough shots. They have a ton. I mean, first period, I think we had like 5 shots, and they had more than double that. And I'm like,
that's the stat we said earlier, right? Double the nothing.
Double the nothing. And that's why I was like, yeah, that's going to be the downfall. If Florida gets a kick out of that last 3 minutes, they're just going to come out steamrolling, and that's what they did.
Well, and it was their fourth line. I mean, Greer gets where how many goals did he get? Did he get 1? Bennett got 1. Lundell, Rodriguez, I mean, and Luke Cunnin. So Cunnin and Greer getting goals. That's their fourth line. Like that's 2 goals on the fourth line alone. Mm-hmm. And they still win the game 6-5, right? Even take those 2 goals away. So, Patera just made a fabulous glove save in the highlights here that I've got running in the background. Yeah,
that was a gorgeous glove save.
Amazing glove save.
I mean, he made some really good saves to try and keep us in there.
Yeah.
And And we had a few real bad breakdowns for his reward for doing that.
Yeah. Patera's young. He's only 26.
Yep.
How big do you think Patera is?
6'3".
Yeah, you're bang on. He looks a little smaller. Like Lankinen, I think, is a little shorter.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lankinen's only 6'2", which is funny because 6'2" is tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not super tall for a goalie, but he has a more hunched style with a more, I'd say, brick wall sort of pads. Lankinen's listed at 6'2". But Pateras, he makes himself a little smaller. I thought that he looked a little smaller, a little more squishy as far as his posture, the way he gets down. It's more of his shoulders. Lankinen plays up high with his shoulders like this, and Patera plays a little more old school and looks a little smaller. He looks like a 6-foot goalie, but he's 6'3". Yeah, that was a great save. And so now the Panthers just scored. Rodriguez, it's now 4-2 with 13:50 left in the second. And this is, I think when they scored 5, I said they're going to get 8. And I texted them too.
Yeah, you texted me and said they're going to get 8.
They're going to get 8. It just felt bad. It felt
it was horrible. It was like what, like within 5 minutes there was 4 goals?
Yeah.
4 goals in 5 minutes.
And so this is the worry about winning a game like Tampa. And, in all reality, we could have gone 0-2-1 on this trip. A loss in Tampa if we don't get lucky, really. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a tie. Maybe we win. I don't know. But it doesn't, when you can't battle plan for the consistency, like, hey, here's the plan. And this goes to identity as well. Like, what's the identity of this team? Are we a forechecking team? Are we a skill team? Are we a hard, don't mess us on the boards team? Like, and again, if Quinn Hughes isn't driving everything through him, then really, what is the plan, really? So, what's the identity?
We need to be a shoot more team.
Yeah, Hronik's is fine, or I shouldn't say fine. He's good. He's really good. I like him. He's evolving into one of my favorite Canucks right now. Mm-hmm. I really love the edge that he plays with. I thought it was a little like maybe too much in his the earlier parts when he joined the Canucks. He's a little not chippy, but but he plays the right way.
Yep.
He plays with a little edge. He plays like everything's like life or death. And as a D-man, that consistency, I'm sure the goalie, you can probably speak to that as a former goalie, knowing that your defenseman is going to 100% finish the play at the way he took out Marchand in this game was perfect. How many times have you seen Marchand dance a defender and Hronik just drove him right through to the ice and finish him out? You could see like Marchand even beaking off. I don't think it was like really beaking up, but he was saying something when he was down there. And Hronik was just all business. Like he gets those crazy hawk eyes going, and he is all business. It's actually really like he's 100%er. He's a 100% effort all the time. Mm-hmm. I think obviously as a B+ offensive defenseman, maybe A-, more of a B+er. Mm-hmm. He's wonderful. I am really, someone on X was talking about like the trades, comparing, we talked about this a little bit about Benning versus Rutherford right now, and just the way the state of the team is, and for me, my mind went to like giving the first rounder up for Hronik, giving the first rounder up for Marcus Pettersson. Is it worth it? And we kind of went back and forth on that as a debate on text as far as, is it really worth it to flip your first rounder for those players? And in Hronik's case, probably yes. Like for sure. Like you don't find offensive defensemen, for whatever that pick ended up being for in the Horvat deal. Like, do you get an offensive, a clear number 2 Maybe a number one on another team defenseman? Probably not. So yes, Marcus Pettersson's a little more debatable, but if you're coming off the previous year with the Miller Pettersson drama aside, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean, it seems a little steep, but he's an excellent number 4 defenseman, number 3 defenseman. And yeah, is it worth it? I don't know. So anyways, I'm really enjoying Hronek. I think that he played great this game. He's been playing great. I think he's been playing great all year. I think that he's stepping up when
nothing but respect for him.
When Quinn's been down.
Yep.
And before I started going on that rant, it just, I'm watching the rest of these highlights here for Florida. Mm-hmm. Side tip in goal, way off the side. I don't know whose goal that was. Let me just back this up for a second. That he was near the face-off circle almost.
Yeah.
That's Bennett. The Bennett goal. That's a well-rehearsed play between Mikkola and Bennett at that point. Makes it 6-5, and the game's over at that point. So, with 11 minutes left in the third, or 12 minutes left in the third. So, don't know. Anything else sort of jump out you at this game? I mean, obviously disappointing, actually a little bit crushing because it really got away from them. It could be a little fatigue. I mean, the travel's right there.
So a couple of good things, because I like the good points too, right? Petey looked good. He was confident in taking the shots. He wasn't doing his little, stop the puck and look for a better play or whatever. He was just taking the shots, and he was looking good. I was happy with his play, other than in the face-off dot where he just got dominated. He was 32% on the dot. But let's stick with the good and ignore that and go straight to the good. And David Kampf. So he had a good, decent game.
Okay.
But when you look at what he did, he was 73% on the face-off dot.
Wow. That's amazing.
So Florida Panthers have a lot of really good face-off guys, right? Sam Bennett is
he's pretty fierce.
Best.
He's pretty fierce on the face-off dot.
And against Bennett, Kampf was 83%.
I see that. I'm looking right now. That's amazing. That's crazy.
So yeah. So if we want some good takeaways, things to be excited about for the next coming games and stuff, having David Kampf sort of being able to be the secondary guy that can take some face-offs instead of just leaving it all with Hughes and Saxon. Saxon takes a lot as a fourth liner. Pettersson, not Hughes. Then that's awesome, right? Especially in a game like this where I want to say, like, typically if no one else is winning face-offs, the score wouldn't be what it is, right? Because we didn't have the puck at all. And that shows in our shots, right? But when we have another person, it's just like any other sort of thing that happens in hockey. If your main guy isn't scoring, you want your secondary guys to come in there and start scoring.
Right? Totally.
And with face-offs, we never really had that face-off taker. Like it was Sutter that we used to have.
Yep.
Right?
Dedicated, yep.
Dedicated face-off guy. We never... So seeing David Kampf come in and possibly being that secondary face-off guy that we need, I think that's a great thing. So
he'll need to keep it up, and for sure that's 100% a great point, because holy cow, 73%. Now we'll see if he can sustain that, because you mentioned him versus Sam Bennett. He went 5 for 6, 83% against Bennett. Pettersson against Bennett was 1 for 7 at 14%. So you're right. Like Bennett's he's pretty darn good in the dot, but by contrast, Kampf had all their numbers. In fact, he had a winning percentage, save for 50% against Lundell, against everyone he faced. So Wow.
Yeah.
Great insight to the management to grab that if they knew that he was that strong on the face-off. But he'll need to keep that up. But, I mean, for this game, wonderful. And, sometimes you just struggle on the dot. Sometimes guys have your number. But Pettersson was only good against two guys, one Marchand and Verhaeghe, who are both wingers. So he was having a terrible night in the dot.
He was.
And nice to have that secondary backup. We've been talking about options to bring in to help, overall, minus Hedl. David Kampf is not going to replace a Hedl because he's more of a defensive third-line center, which is good in the Ratu depth chart because if you can push Ratu down to, say, the fourth line, but then Bluger comes back, you've got three face-off guys, and then Kampf. Yeah. That's four. Well, no, Kampf, Ratu, Bluger. That's three strong face-off guys. And then Sasson, I don't know how well he is overall on face-offs. He was
usually
60%.
Yeah, he's usually in between 40 and 60. So he's a decent face-off guy.
Okay, that's good. That gives you five, and none of them are righties. So that's except for Ratu, who switch hits. So that's okay. But anyways, good depth. But again, that as we were talking in an earlier episode, when you can push guys further down the lineup, like DeBrusque playing on the third line right now, and pushing Ratu down, and where do you want to put Bluger, or having that extra option of who's hot and who's not. That's good. I mean, if they knew that about Kampf, double thumbs up to the management for that. Then at 73%, that's a wicked, an unbelievable face-off percentage. So,
well, we'll see how he can sustain that in in the coming games. But if that's a talent that he has, then that's a talent that we definitely need. Still want to see him more on the shot summaries. Like I want to see more of everyone on the shot summaries. We only had 7 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 8 guys take shots on net.
Yeah,
right?
There needs to be a bit of a mandate. I think if they see the number that 50 in 3 games, that it's two things. If they're getting success with low shots, I mean, I'm thinking.
Yeah, but you can't rely on luck, and a lot of that was luck.
Right, and I'm thinking of the Minnesotas and the New Jersey Devils of low shot variety and winning games, but those are different teams, different eras, and we are definitely not of that ilk. So a few of our guys are just hanging on. A few of our guys are just finding their game. A few of our guys are they're doing fine, and 2, 1.5 guys are having awesome games, and that's just not enough. You need more consistency, some line chemistry, some more easy chemistry, and we're fighting so hard for everything we get.
Yep.
And it's just not sustainable, especially when you're counting on a bit of luck to push you over the edge, like the Tampa game. So,
yep.
So, overall, it could have been worse, and it could have been better. Carolina game, I think we probably deserved a little bit better because I think Svechnikov pulled a couple of fast ones. We got kind of lucky, and then this game got away from us in Florida. Although, were we ever really in it? Depends on Florida if they were tired or not, and they seemed to be not in it in the beginning, and then they warmed up and really just didn't stop. But again, they're
we still made some punchbacks and
8-3.
got close
8-5
again.
is pretty respectable against the Cup champs. Minus Barkov, but we're minus Demko. So
can I give you a quick stat here?
Okay.
I was just looking up some stuff and I found this, and I was actually surprised at this. So when you look at goals per game, the percentage.
Okay.
So Elias Pettersson has he's at 0.97. And only Pavel Bure is better than him.
Oh, okay. For points or goals per game?
Points per game.
points per game?
Points per game.
Oh, okay.
So he's better. He's doing better than the Sedins. He's doing better than Naslin, than Stan Smeel, the only player.
Okay.
Better than Tony Tenney. The only player that he's behind is Pavel Bure.
Okay.
So
that's some deep research there.
So like people are like, oh, he's doing crap. He's doing garbage. Well, he's almost been maintaining a point a game for his career here. So he's just barely off that. So I'm.
You're still on the train. I'm
still on the train. Not giving up on him yet.
The PD train. Well, he's warming up, which is super effing encouraging. I mean, there's no other way to look at it other than like, oh, thank God, because he chipped in 2 today, got a couple assists the other day, I believe. I'm probably screwing it all up, but the impression is that he's chipping in, right? Mm-hmm. Shorty in Carolina. How many points does he have on the season right now?
What is he at? I think he's at like six goals and.
Are you pulling this out of your head?
Yeah.
Wow, pretty good. 6 goals and
12 assists.
Oh, geez, man, you are on the money. 13 for 19. Okay. So he's almost a point a game, people. So, so right now he's based on a 79 or 80 point season. My hope was an 80 point season at minimum for him, and he is on pace for that. So
we'll see how it goes.
Well, he's warming up. He might. Is he on the Olympic squad?
I don't think so, to be honest.
Projected roster here. So they only have to name. So he's not on the. Oh no, he is. He's on the 14 forwards that have been named already.
Okay.
So even if he's on the fourth line, well, 14 and 8. And then so what? Well, they've got Landeskog on that list on Sweden. Interesting. So that's something. That's not nothing, right? So, he is one of the top 14 Swedish forwards in the league. So I'd say, just looking at this list, that he's definitely not at the bottom of the list.
Nope.
I think there's about 4 forwards below him. If he's playing well, then he's in the top, 6. Right now, he's probably in the bottom 5.
Yeah.
For where he's performing at, but at a point a game, he's probably above middle of the pack right now. So let's just see what's Lindholm doing right now. How many points? Elias Lindholm is 9 points by comparison. So that's 10 more points that he's got.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yep.
So. Definitely not the end of the world for beloved EP40. But
still want to see him shoot more, though.
Right. So, anyways, at least that's progress. At least he's going. I wanted to say uphill, but no, he's trending up as far as this goes. It's not an uphill thing. But good stat by you. Wow, and almost on the money as far as points for the season. Good for you.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
I kind of know my stuff sometimes.
We have a good take once or twice. That is in our bio, in our write-up, is that we have good takes once in a while. So, all right, Shylo, is anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's it. And they're coming home, so let's hope for some good home games, and we'll see what happens.
So what do we got? Next game is on Thursday, is that right? They have a little bit of a break. Coming home from this Eastern road swing. Yeah, so Thursday, November 20th, Thursday, the 20th against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
So, as said on the broadcast, they'll probably, it's Monday, so they'll travel, get 2 days of practice in. Anyways, well, there's so many things to have go our way that, obviously practice time is going to be good, but we'll see. We'll see how they fare against the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, it's it's another team that's is pretty good, and Wow. And then they have two days off again. And then they have Friday, Saturday off.
Oh, wow. Weekend off, eh?
Let's see. Did I miss them on Saturday?
You know,
No, they
Dallas
got
is
Saturday
right
off.
now number 2 in the West, so that's going to be a tough matchup. So
Yeah. So
For us?
so they got 2 days off, a game, 2 days off, a game, 2 days off, and a game.
and then
So this is a
game on
nice
Friday.
little
So
run.
it's Thursday to Sunday against the
Yeah.
Flames, then against Wednesday against the Ducks, and then Friday. So that's only 4 games in less than a week, or just over a week. It's not bad. It's
Nope.
pretty good.
No,
So,
it's pretty good. It gives them some practice time, gives them time to work on, congealing their game and figuring out how they can take a lot more shots.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's one of the things for sure. So, All right, Shylo.
All right, bud.
Have yourself a good evening, and thanks for another episode of Canucks Only.
You bet. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Canucks Only.
Canucks only. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe.